everybody, welcome back to Mix It Up. Today, no clickbait, we're going to be making the perfect slice of toast. And to make the perfect slice of toast, you need the perfect loaf. The perfect loaf for toasting. Pan de mie, in my opinion, is the best, and that's what I'm going to show you how to make today. You might have seen them on Instagram a few weeks back. I posted pictures of it, of me making it and eating it and all the things that is involved with toast. And I got a lot of feedback saying people wanted to learn how to make it themselves. So that's what we're going to do today. Last week's video as well, I showed you how to make the perfect nut butter. That's going to be coming into play on this. Nut butter, toast. It's the ultimate easy, delicious breakfast. Making this bread, it's a little bit more effort obviously than just going to buy some nice bread, but I promise it is so worth it. And I'm going to show you how to do it today. So let's talk about what we're going to need to make this. You will need 650 grams of strong flour, 20 grams of table salt, 20 grams of granulated sugar or caster sugar or just whatever sugar you have lying around, 26 grams of fresh yeast, 65 grams of butter or 65 grams of margarine if you would like to make the vegan version of this, and the vegan version works just as well, 130 milliliters of water, 260 grams of milk or oat milk if you are making the vegan version. And then, oh, what's in here? Oh, we got some more butter. That's for greasing the tin. Don't worry about that right now. All right, so first things first, we are going to get this little pot of water over to boil. Just like with the pumpkin spice bun video, we're going to boil half the liquid we need, keep the other half at room temp, mix them together, and it's generally the perfect temperature to activate yeast. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to boil our water, and while our water is boiling, we can work on the other stuff. I'm just going to pop this over here to boil. All right, step number 2, very easy. We're just going to get all our dry ingredients into our stand mixer with the dough hook attached. So in here, we're getting in our strong flour, salt, sugar, get our dough hook attached. And let's just get this guy going slowly, mixing everything together nicely. And we're going to bring our liquids over here and our yeast, which we're going to activate before adding it in here. Our water should nearly be boiled by now. Let me go have a look. So our pot of water is boiling away like good-o. Let's get our milk in here. Perfect. It's nice and the perfect temperature for our yeast to go in. Get our yeast in. And we basically just want to whisk this until the yeast is dissolved and activated. All right, this guy's about done. So let's just get our dry mixture back on. Just kind of like a little slow mix. And we're going to stream this guy in. So just get it in nice and slow. It's going to start to get incorporated. Getting streamed in. Everything's coming together nicely. So this guy needs now to knead for 10 minutes. So we're going to put on a 10-minute timer. And then we'll be right back. So this guy has been kneading for 10 minutes. Now we're going to add the fat. Vegan version, adding margarine. This version, regular version, adding butter. We've got our butter diced up nicely here. You want to add it in small, manageable pieces so it gets incorporated into the dough and doesn't separate out from the dough. So let's start doing that right now. So we're going to get this guy on kind of medium thing. The mixer really hates when we do this. So we're going to add our butter bit by bit. I know this looks like a hot mess right now, but it will come together. I'm just gonna very quickly add that butter in. So once you have the fat added in, it needs to knead for a little bit more until it all comes back together. It's pretty much happening right now. We just need to get everything incorporated, make sure everyone's, no one's arguing, the butter's not separating from the dough, everyone's happy, and that just requires time. A little bit of time. Bread isn't difficult, it just takes time. Time is the most important step of making bread. The rest is just easy. And this guy's about done. My mixer really hates me making bread. It visibly gets upset. And we've been through so much together, I don't like upsetting her. I'm just licking the butter off my fingers, don't mind me. All right. Oh, butter tastes so good. So we're going to turn this guy out now and we're going to start the first fermentation stage right away. So let's unattach our dough hook. Remove your dough hook. It should come off pretty easily. It does come off pretty easily. Well, let's get this guy out here. So you'll feel it's a little bit greasy. but don't worry about that. But it needs to be kneaded out just a little bit before we start the first prove. So you're just pulling it back, kneading it in this part of your hand. Feels good, I'm not gonna lie. Feels pretty nice. This dough is so soft and delicious and enriched and great, and it just makes the best toast ever. You're gonna thank me for this one. You're gonna be atting me for this one, okay? You're gonna be like, Holly, my bread looks like an emoji. It's the best bread ever. I'm like, yeah, I know. Okay, I already know. So just like with the pumpkin buns, we're pulling from the top and pinching at the bottom. Bring it into a ball, pinching at the sides, pulling down to the bottom until it's a nice taut ball. Before we prove this, we're just going to flour the table a little bit and flour the top of the ball. Put a cloth over it, and that way it's not going to stick to anything and make our lives more difficult later on. So we're going to put this on our lightly floured surface. Flour the top of the dough a little bit. Give it a round of applause. And then we're going to cover with a cloth. We're going to come back to this in about an hour or until it's doubled in size. So I'll see you then. All right, we're back. An hour has passed. Let's have a look at the bread. Ooh, very exciting. Looks very exciting. Okay, so now we're gonna get it into the loaf that it's gonna be cooking in. And we're gonna get it to prove again, and then we're gonna put it in the oven to bake. And it's pretty simple, you know, it's not a very involved recipe, it just takes a bit of time. So let's talk about what we're gonna be cooking this in. This is a Japanese milk pan kind of tin. And basically what makes this different is it comes with a lid, which just slides on like this. And it gives it this perfectly square shape, which is what we want out of this thing. And you'll see later on how good that looks. But don't worry about it if you don't have something like this. All you need is kind of as square as possible tin. And then if you don't have a lid like this kind of special tin, you're just gonna need to get a baking tray sitting on top of this with a weight on top when it's going into the oven. So don't worry about it if you don't have like a special thing like this. You can do this recipe without that. Okay, so whatever tin you're gonna use, you're gonna need to grease it up. So let's get some butter. And this is pretty, this is pretty graphic. We're just gonna do it by hand. It's honestly the easiest way to do this. It feels so wrong. Don't go messing around. Just grease up the sides, casual, whatever. Maybe it doesn't look that professional, doesn't matter. It just needs to be nice and greased up. It's gonna give it a nice buttery crust as well, very delicious. And yeah, just grease it up. I mean, you can use like a grease spray if you want, but this just gives it this kind of nice buttery crust that I enjoy. And that's what we're gonna do. So just make sure it's thoroughly greased, otherwise we're gonna have a problem getting it out at the end. And make sure the bottom is greased up as well. And the lid. So whatever, if you're gonna put a baking tray or something on top, make sure you grease the bottom of the baking tray. Perfect. That's good to go. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do with this guy is oh, it feels so good. So satisfying. We're just gonna flatten it out into a circle with our hands. Basically, when we're folding this out, we want to create layers within the dough that's going to help it rise. So fold it in bit by bit, just kind of like that. Again, like that, just kind of making these layers. And again. So once you've folded it out a few times like that, you're creating these layers all the time. Doesn't matter if you mess it up too much. You just want to create some layers in here like you would with a puff pastry or anything like that. Creating layers, building up structure, so it's going to rise more in the oven. And then once that we have it in this nice shape, we're going to set it into our pre-prepared tin. Obviously, whatever shape I have here, you match that to whatever tin you're going to use. If you don't have a tin this big, half the recipe. This recipe is pretty adjustable, so don't worry about that. And now we're going to put it in the tin, like so. Get him in there so he's nice and happy. And now he's going to prove for the second fermentation stage. So same like before, we're just going to cover this guy with a cloth, same cloth we used earlier. Cover it and leave it for an hour. So basically this dough is going to be ready. We're going to leave it for an hour or until the dough is at the same height as the top of the tin. It needs to be nice and high, otherwise you're not going to get that desired shape that I was talking about earlier. So just make sure it's as high as the top of the tin, and then it'll be ready to go in the oven. In the meantime, I'm going to start preheating my oven now, so it's at the perfect temperature for this guy to go in when he's proven. So I'm going to preheat my oven out to 200 degrees Celsius. I recommend you do the same thing. All right, we're back. As you can see down here, there's a little kind of bump underneath the tea towel. There's a little bump, which means that it's risen to the top, which is great. So at this stage, it's ready to go into the oven. Now, we want to get the lid on. Just, oh, wow. Push the bread down a little bit, just so we can get the lid on. And that's it. It's ready to go in the oven. I'm extremely excited for this. We're going to sit it into a tray when we're putting it in the oven. That is just so the butter doesn't leak out of the tin. Sometimes that can happen, and it's very messy, and it leaves a very smoky smell in your oven, which I don't like. So this is going to go in the oven for 30 minutes. Then we're going to take it out of the tin, and then we're going to put it back in the oven for another few minutes to get a nice crust on it. So we're going to put it in now. Say goodbye. Say goodbye for now, guys. Bye. Bye, bread. Bye. All right, half an hour has gone by. It's time to whip open this bad boy. So obviously, if you did this with a tray on top, at this stage you would just take the tray off on the top. In our case, we are gonna slide open the lid. Put this guy over to the side. And now we need to take him out of his loaf and get him back in the oven. So we're gonna need to get this guy onto a rack. The bread will be very hot, just so you know this. And get it back in the oven for a few minutes to build up a crust. Get it in upside down because the bottom will have more kind of moisture on it from the condensation. And we're going to get this back into the oven now for 10 minutes to build up a crust. And then I'll see you back in 10 minutes. All right, ready? I'm taking this out. Taking this out for the last time. You can turn off our oven now. Yeah. It's got a nice crust. So we're going to set it down on the table on the cooling rack. Everything's extremely hot, just bear that in mind. We're gonna flip it. So we've got a nice square, boxy looking loaf, which is exactly what we wanted. Sometimes it rises ever so slightly more and actually touches off the lid. It didn't in this case, but that's totally fine. It's still really nice and boxy. The slices are still gonna be really nice and emoji-like. It's gonna look great and it's gonna taste unbelievable, which is what's important here. So what's crucial at a time like this, I'm just going to toss this cloth away. This cloth is holding me back, okay? What's crucial at a time like this, like I'm not a patient person. This bread has already taken quite a while, okay? It's a lengthy process. You got to make the dough, you got to prove it, you got to shape it, you got to prove it again, you got to bake it, you got to take it out, you got to put the crust, you know. It takes time. It takes time, but it's crucial. It's key. This stage, we have to let the bread cool. If I was just going to sew into this now, just start cutting it like crazy, getting the butter on there, the bread would be, it would just kind of, it's like a lot of condensation on the inside, and if you put the knife into it, it just kind of becomes like really dense and kind of cakey, and it's really not nice, and you don't want to fall at the last hurdle here. So please wait until your bread has cooled, okay? Wait until your bread's cooled. If you want, you can make this the day before you want to have it, or you can prove it slowly overnight in the fridge, so when you get up in the morning, it's fresh out of the oven. Just whatever you do, you gotta let it cool, okay? So let it cool. Let's give it half an hour. I know that sounds like a long time. Let's give it half an hour. And then I promise you, when we get back, we're gonna make the perfect slice of toast. Trust me on this one. All right, bases are loaded. The bread is cool. We've got a nice little nut butter garnish over here. We've got our plate ready. We've got everything ready to go. Let's slice some bread. Let's make some toast. I'm not gonna eat the heel. I'm not a heel kind of gal. You know, someone wants to eat the heel, they can do that. Normally we just give it to the birds outside. Just to show you how lovely and fluffy and delicious this bread is. Look how nice it is. It smells so good. I love it. I love you. I love you. I love you. And kiss it. Give it a little kiss. Give it a kiss if you want. It's your bread. Do whatever you want with it. Don't kiss it if you're giving it to other people. They might not like that. So I'm going to show you the perfect slice of toast. We'll do 2 slices. You want to cut it nice and thick. That's very important. Sliced pan is never normally this thick. thickness is important. Cut it as thick as your toaster will allow it. If your toaster doesn't have big, bread slots, then you probably should do it on a grill. Needs to be thick. This is bread, let's turn it into toast. Here we go, perfect. And there you have it. This is the perfect slice of toast. Our panda mie bread meets our delicious homemade nut butter that we made last week, all coming together in this beautiful slice of breakfast. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. It's so soft and fluffy in the middle. It's crunchy on the outside. The nut butter is amazing. Please do yourself a favor. Give yourself the gift of this delicious breakfast. Please let me know if you have any questions, how you got on, what kind of stuff you like on your toast. Did you like the bread? Are you more a sourdough kind of person? Let us know in the comments below. Slide into my DMs on Instagram. I'm at Holly Dalton Chef. And don't be afraid to mix it up. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.